So I'm off to, I'm not sure I can really say where I'm off to today. I had to sign a confidentiality agreement, but I got about 4 hours of sleep after the baked potato last night. Let's just say it's a day trip gig. So, music, plane ticket, clip-on mic, in-ear monitors, saxophone stand, noise-canceling headphones for the flight. Book to read on the plane, highlighter and bookmarks to go with the book to read on the plane. Black shirt, just in case. A couple other shirts, just in case. Old school pencil box for the racers. Other than the saxophone, I think that's it.
Player, the guy that played guitar for the All-American Rejects.
So now that it's over, I can say what it was. It was a show with Idina Menzel. You might know her from Wicked or Frozen or Rent or her many albums. She's a total badass. We were playing a private party for Tim Cook and, I don't know, 6,000 or so Apple employees at the Apple headquarters in Cupertino, California. Pretty cool. Let's see. Real quick, let me just say a big thank you to those of you who've been reaching out to Good Music Company, the booking agents who are setting up this tour for my band in Europe this coming April. You might want to check out the previous video. I'll link to that and I'll put the information below. But basically the tour is gonna sort of happen where you're requesting to see us. So if you're in those European countries and you'd like to see the band, you know, keep hitting them up. It really helps and I appreciate it. Okay, on with the vlog. Okay, I gotta go to a rehearsal very soon. Like, probably I should go now, but I'm reading this book. I just want to share a moment of it with you. The book's called Atomic Habits by James Clear, came out last month, and I'm almost through, and as you can tell by the little post-its and bookmarks and whatnot, and also the highlighting, it's I've been reading it very actively. I absorb the information a lot better when I am engaging with the material, which means writing in it and highlighting it and bookmarking, all these various things, rather than just passively reading it. So this part is about, to me anyway, about how it relates to practicing. Especially this is top of mind as I'm in the process of welcoming the last batch of people who came into my virtual studio for this year and just helping people find where they should be and what they should be working on right now. And finding the balance between motivation and frustration when you're practicing. Okay, I certainly experienced this myself. So let me just read, I'm gonna bounce around here. The human brain loves a challenge, but only if it's within an optimal zone of difficulty. One of the most consistent findings is that the way to maintain motivation and achieve peak levels of desire is to work on tasks of, quote, just manageable difficulty, end quote. He uses an example of playing tennis. Suppose you love playing tennis and you try to play a serious match against a 4-year-old. You'll quickly become bored. It's too easy, you'll win every point. In contrast, if you play a professional tennis player like Roger Federer or Serena Williams, you'll quickly lose motivation because the match is too difficult. Now consider playing tennis against someone who is your equal. As the game progresses, you win a few points and you lose a few. You have a good chance of winning, but only if you really try. Your focus narrows, distractions fade away, and you find yourself fully invested in the task at hand. This is a challenge of just manageable difficulty, and it's a prime example of what's called the Goldilocks Rule. The Goldilocks Rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Another way of putting that, flow. There's an author, I can't say his name correctly, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, I've got to look it up, but he has a great book called Flow. Very similar concept here. He uses the example of Steve Martin's developing his comedy career, experiencing jokes that worked, jokes that didn't. He was always adding new material, but he kept a few jokes that were guaranteed to get laughs. There were just enough victories to keep him motivated and just enough mistakes to keep him working hard. I'm thinking about last week when we played, my band played our regular date at the Big Baked Potato. That set for me, we do 2 sets rather, and it's always one of these things where I was saying to somebody, I know that if I could just keep playing the same material and we get better at it and I know what works, you know, I know that these endings are gonna be tight or these moments are gonna happen. And that's great, except until the point when it's not. You start to get bored if you know it's coming. Like I always say this about music, I feel like the sweet spot for me with music is a balance between predictability and surprise. If music is entirely predictable, I'll get bored, whether I'm listening to it or playing it. And if it's all surprise, I'll also get bored. Same, listening or playing. The most fun for me as both a listener and a player is when there's a balance, a dance if you will, between predictability and surprise. That's what I find the most engaging and the most enjoyable. Similar situation here, and think about when you're practicing. If you're practicing something, if you're spending all your time just playing something that's so easy and you're not mentally engaged with it. When I say so easy, I mean doing something in a way that's comfortable. So major scales in and of themselves are not hard or easy, but what you're currently doing with them, depending on where you are in your development, well, that could be too easy or too difficult. So you want to be somewhere where your mind and your body are engaged, but if you're just constantly going through some motions when you're playing and wondering like, why am I not inspired either to practice or to play new stuff, you know, maybe you're not engaging enough in what you're doing in a challenging way when you're practicing. Conversely, if you're trying to shed, I'm just going to use this low-hanging fruit here, you're trying to shed giant steps, but you don't understand a 12-bar blues yet, you're going to be in over your head, and it's probably not going to be fun, it's just going to be frustrating. So the sweet spot again is like when you're just at the top edge of what you know. In fact, scientists have tried to quantify this feeling, and they've found that to achieve a state of flow, a task must be roughly 4% beyond your current ability. Now, that's not really possible to quantify in the real world, but it's a nice kind of thing to think about. Like here, if you think about your current ability as 100%, let's say, well, 104%, it's like just a little above that. It's not 150%, right? So I like that. Without variety, we get bored, and boredom is perhaps the greatest villain on the quest for self-improvement. He's got a little chart here. And just this idea between difficulty and motivation. Here's boredom. Here's failure, and this is the sweet spot. That's the zone. That's the flow state right there. The optimal level of arousal is the midpoint between boredom and anxiety. So yeah, I've been practicing this song, this beautiful ballad, Easy Living, something I've been working on. And last night I was working on it. I just decided to take it through a couple of keys, and I decided I'll go in whole steps. Like I'll treat it as if I was playing the song and then we just decided to go up a whole step at the end. And the interesting part about that was I had to do enough thinking it was like I'm not in the same key anymore, but because I wasn't jumping over a tritone or even up a major third or something more angular or even a half step, the shapes were very similar, like if that makes sense. The shape of the melody and just thinking in an intervallic sense, like it was just challenging enough to keep me engaged, but like also doable. I could really, for the most part, manage it. So it's just a good thing to keep in mind with your practicing whatever it is you're working on, because it is subjective, right? You could always be, two people could be working on the same thing, but depending on their experience and their level of engagement or disengagement, it will determine how they feel while they're doing it and what they get out of it. All right, cool. I gotta go to rehearsal.